phone is like a very kind of intimate space to connect with your consumers, and you want to make sure that you earn their trust and you maintain that trust over the life cycle of their engagement with you.
And I want a good show, damn it. Ready for a good show?
Doing awesome, yeah. I'm excited to talk to you, Angie. Thank you for having me.
Yes!
I've always been doing big into archery, and my dad said, hey, you guys want to start an archery store?
Yes, that's how I always.
Hi, Andrew. Yes, of course. Let's do this together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the E-Comm Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ecomm Show. As usual, I'm your host, Andrew Maff, and today I am joined by the amazing Sara Varni, who is the CMO of Attentive, one of the leading SMS companies. Sara, how you doing? You ready for a good show?
I am. Yes. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
I'm also super excited. I have a love-hate relationship with SMS marketing. We do it all the time here. But as a consumer, I also get a lot of them. And so I see pros and cons on both sides. So super excited to dig into this one. And obviously I know to get those answers, you're going to be perfect for this.
Yes, great.
Typical approach. Love to hear a little bit about your background and tell us a little bit about Attentive. We'll pretend no one knows who you guys are, as if. And then we'll take it from there. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, so I'm Sara Varni. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Attentive, as you mentioned. Prior to Attentive, I was the CMO at Twilio for a number of years, and then started my career in software at Salesforce for over a decade. So I spent a lot of time in the customer experience space. And Attentive is a super exciting company to be at right now. I really believe that SMS is the future of marketing. And we are, to boil it down to really the essence of what Attentive is, we are a conversational commerce platform. We deliver both SMS and email across the entire retail journey. And we want to make sure that we're creating the most engaging customer experiences so that people engage with your brand, continue to buy and become lifelong customers of your products. And so we try to always be thinking about what is the most engaging way to really get that customer hooked and excited about your products or your services.
Beautiful. Question. The immediate thing that comes to mind. SMS is, it's kind of like the Wild West where like it's doing really well. It's still one of those things like marketers haven't ruined it just yet, which is great. But I know that there's basically some areas where you can definitely put in some suggestions for us about like how often is too often, how little is too little. Like when you start bringing people on, you have these people really leveraging the platform and they're just killing it with the platform. What do you see as making sure that they're not overusing it and abusing the, kind of the privilege they've been given from these users? And how do you make sure that they're also using it enough that all of a sudden someone doesn't get a text one day and they're like, I have no idea who this is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's really important to not just take your email strategy and bring it over to SMS and use it kind of verbatim. I think that SMS is a completely different animal. And to your point, you really have to be careful about how you use it. The phone is like a very kind of intimate space to connect with your consumers, and you want to make sure that you earn their trust and you maintain that trust over the life cycle of their engagement with you. I think what's key, there's no like one size fits all to say like, hey, you should only send 2 messages a week or whatever the like right formula is. I think what is really important is to think about segmentation in a very thoughtful way. I think that there are customers that maybe do only want to hear from you every so often, or they do only want to hear about sales, or they only want to hear about new products. But then there are customers that are your biggest fans and they want to know every little detail. They do want to hear from you, as often as you have new and relevant content. And so I think it's really important to identify what lanes each of your prospects or customers are in and then market to them in a very one-to-one personalized way. And that's something that we really pride ourselves on here at Attentive. That's why we're investing really heavily in AI to make sure that we can identify early on who is falling in what segment, and what the best kind of advice is to market to those particular users in the way that they want to be communicated to.
Yeah. So in terms of frequency on, let's say, just kind of your traditional like one-off push, or you have the things that are more triggered based, do you cater a little bit more towards, you think it's best to have a lot of the stuff more triggered based? I know it's difficult for a lot of people when they think like, okay, I'm going to get into SMS, and similar to like you just mentioned, they want to take their email marketing approach and just duplicate it. And I know that definitely doesn't work. So from like a frequency standpoint for your traditional campaigns as opposed to your automations, how do you kind of map out like, okay, from an automation side, these are the things that you should have in place, but keep in mind, the frequency of your campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's like, I do think, while I like I said, I don't think you should take your email strategy and completely apply it to the SMS channel, because I think that that's a mistake. But I do think that some of the broad strokes approach that marketers take when it comes to thinking about your funnel, it still applies for SMS. So you're not going to just do top of funnel awareness or splashy brand stuff all the time when you're using SMS. You also want to make sure you have that balance of maturing people who have raised their hand and shown interest in something, and making sure that they continue through the process. So, there might be a high level, broad-based campaign you do for a Labor Day sale, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And then when people show interest, you want to make sure you've got those right journeys in place, whether it's cart abandonment or back in stock, to make sure that anyone that is, raised their hand and shown interest, that you're continuing to promote that product in a very relevant way that's keeping that experience top of mind.
Gotcha. I wish I'd brought you on a little bit sooner, because as of recording this, we're in a good spot. We're right before Q4. However, by the time this goes out, we're going to be like in the thick of it. So it makes it kind of tough. But during Q4, obviously, similar to what you mentioned about a frequency side, want to keep that limited. What about post Q4, right? Like, I'm a big believer of Q4 is a lot. It's better utilized as a customer acquisition time, because a lot of people are willing to try new brands. But then what kind of things can you have in place, especially from an SMS standpoint, to make sure that going into the new year and obviously throughout the year, that you're retaining those customers, you're extending that lifetime value and making a lot more, use of your time from Q4?
I think it's all about creating experiences that, again, are enjoyable and that also continue to build trust. And I think a key component of that trust is building campaigns that feel very personalized to that individual. So I think about someone like Guess Brands, which is an Attentive customer, and I thought they did something really cool in like the February-March timeframe last year, around spring break. And they had a two-way campaign that they sent via SMS, and they said, hey, here are, we're going to curate the perfect spring break outfit for you. Pick your favorite city. Is it Palm Springs? Is it Miami? Is it Scottsdale? And based on how the person responded, one for Scottsdale, two for Miami, whatever, they would serve back a curated outfit that matched that location. And I thought that was just a really simple, clever way to create an engaging experience that the customer could see, oh, this is a cool outfit. I don't have to think about like piecing stuff together. And guess what? Guest gets great information back that they can then go and use in a future quarter to go remarket to that customer. So I think in that scenario, we're getting that, it's an enjoyable experience. It's like helping the customer kind of have that personal shopping experience. And it's also building trust with them. They know that, like, all right, like in the next campaign, Guess is going to even be smarter about marketing that particular individual and serve up even a more relevant image or copy or whatever it might be. That's going to be like, all right, Guess gets me. Like they understand kind of what I'm looking for and are not just spamming me.
Yeah, in true Guess fashion. I do love that idea. That's a good idea. I like that. I might have to look into how to do that. So I know a lot of sellers, sometimes they'll just do like hey, today we have a sale, and like that's it. And there's no engagement side of it. So do you consistently see better performing SMS when it's more of a two-way thing and you're actually trying to get the user to engage with the message as opposed to just knowing about a sale that's going on?
I do think that the more personalized the experience is, the more likely you're going to get someone to bite and be interested in what you're promoting. It's not to say that sales aren't important too, and holidays can be huge moments for the brands we work with, 100%. But I do think the more that you can get that information from a consumer and be upfront about it too, that's another way to build trust. Like, hey, tell us how much you want to hear from us. Do you want to hear about resort wear? Do you want to hear about new hats? Do you want to hear about whatever? And then you can kind of play that back to that customer. And again, that's a moment to build trust with them, and they are going to be less inclined to unsubscribe in that context, because you're not going to be just giving them the same message whether they're interested in hats or they're interested in whatever it is. And so, we do definitely see higher performance and higher ROI when people focus on those personalized elements.
Gotcha. What would be the best practice for the actual acquisition, right? Like, a lot of people giving an email is, if here's 10% off, and then like they just do it and then they go and delete it. SMS, it's definitely a little bit more of a hesitation. So do you have a best practice in mind, or basically something that you usually say, like, hey, when you're trying to get trying to get someone's phone number, like, here's an approach that you can do so it's not too, what's the word I want here? Not too salesy to a certain extent, but then do you also have an idea of what they should be saying as soon as they sign up?
I think that we've definitely seen different sign up units have improved performance. For example, our spin to win sign up unit that we see a lot of our customers use. It's just a simple spinny wheel, and people will land on a particular discount. In certain scenarios, we've seen a 2x lift in customer acquisition just from using that component. That's a little bit more engaging. In general, we really do think that having the cell phone number at the center of identity is the best path forward in terms of customer acquisition, because to your point earlier, it's easy to go spin up an email if you really want 20% off and leave and never kind of use that email again. Whereas your cell phone number is something that you don't change often, and so you're going to have more of a consistent thread with the audience that you're collecting through SMS. And there is other tricks just generally in terms of doing like a full screen on mobile to do the capture that we see a lift in. I do think, like, going back to something I said a little bit ago, just the more engaging and entertaining that experience is, the more likely it's kind of marketing 101, the more likely that consumer is going to be willing to play ball.
Yeah. What about that post sign up though? So like, once they've signed up, you think from an email perspective, if they sign up for a newsletter, traditionally it's, hey, here's what you can expect now that you've subscribed to us. Is that a relatively similar approach you suggest with SMS, or does that kind of get a little too lengthy?
I do think that there is a benefit in setting expectations early on when you're getting that phone number from someone, especially probably in some ways even more so in SMS, because to your point, it is like a channel that people do not want, people want to keep pristine in some ways. And so I think that it's important to say, like, again, collecting those preferences, this is where two-way can be really interesting. Like, hey, thank you so much for signing up for Guest Brands. This is gonna be a commercial for Guest at the end of it. If you if you want to hear from us, like, weekly, press 1, monthly, press 2. Even like being able to have that kind of dialogue is something that you can't really do on email. And I think if you can like set those parameters up front, you're going to have that fast track to creating more of that personalized experience with that customer. And, even though there's some investment up front to do that, I think your performance down the road is going to be much higher.
Yeah. Now that we've given guests plenty of airtime, which you're welcome, I loved the idea, actually. So it was a very good idea. Do you have any others off the top of your head that you're like, oh, so-and-so, they did this and it was just a really cool idea that worked out well for them?
I mean, we have plenty of cool examples in our base. I think a lot of the campaigns that I think are interesting too are not the like, hey, here, give us your cell phone number, we'll give you 20% off, and just kind of that transactional campaign around discounts. I love some of the educational campaigns I see our customers do. Supergroup is an example of this. They do a bunch of education with their customers via text on the benefits of sunscreen and how to think about skincare and how to think about aging. And they do that in a way that's again, they're careful about how they segment that customer base, and they're going to market that to people that they know are interested. But I think, like, again, earning the right to talk to these customers and not just be pushing product constantly is an important tactic to have in your tool set as a marketer. And I think it's something that people sometimes discount because it's not like you can't see that turn up in the spreadsheet the next day. But I do think there's something to be said for building a longer term relationship with these customers and not just always kind of hawking the newest product.
Yeah, I agree. We've definitely solidified that you don't want to repeat your entire email marketing process for SMS. Yes. However, do have another question about that. How do you, or at least what is your suggestion in terms of how you get those two to work together? Let's take your traditional, your abandoned cart. Do you really want to email them and shoot them a text message at the exact same time? Do you think it's better to stagger them? Like, how do you keep it from, if you've got someone's email and you do have their phone number as well, how do you keep it from bombarding them and just being more of like a nice nudge?
I honestly don't know that there's a one size fits all answer for this. And I think that there are some brands where sending an email and then sending them an SMS 24 hours later is the right combination of things. I think it can be pretty brand specific. It can be specific to the price point. And we really try to work with our customers one-to-one to see, like, all right, what are the patterns we're seeing in your data? And then here, let's figure out the right combination of activities across SMS and email that are going to work for you. So, I don't, it's funny, like, intuitively you'd say, like, oh, bombarding them on both is actually going to be like, you're going to have a high opt-out rate, or there's automatic places your head might go as a marketer, but interestingly enough, that's not always the case. And depending on the brand, that combo can actually work really well. So unfortunately, I don't have like a one size fits all answer for it. I do really think it's specific to what you're selling and what your customer base, how your customer base generally responds.
Yeah, it's a very traditional marketing response. I feel you. Depends on the brand, depends on the product, depends on the customer. There's never one solid answer for anything. A/B test everything, see what happens.
Yes.
In terms of implementation stuff, so I know you've got a lot of experience, obviously running marketing departments, scaling marketing departments. From an SMS perspective, who do you typically have overseeing that entire approach? Are you tying it together with your retention and or email marketing team? Are you having like a copywriter overseeing it? Who's typically the one that's implementing those practices internally?
For Attentive in terms of onboarding our own customer base?
Sure. Let's go with both. Let's go with that. And then also what you usually suggest for your clients internally.
Oh, okay. Got it. Yes. So we have a client strategy team that really works closely with all of our customers to make sure that we're taking the best practices that we're learning across the 8,000 brands that we service and applying them, wherever it's relevant. We want to make sure that from a retention standpoint, that they are thinking about, not just marketing the most relevant products. I think that is really critical, and making sure that it's a personal experience. But again, also providing content that's going to add value in different ways. So like the Supergroup example I mentioned, where they're offering not just, hey, look, here's our newest product, but also here's some tips about skincare in general. Yeah. I'm trying to think of another example on the, loyalty too is another big component. So if you have a crew of MVP customers and that they always want to know about, they want to be on the like cutting edge or feel like they're in the insiders club of like what new things are coming out. You're going to segment them and make sure that they've got kind of that insider scoop. Maybe they find out about something 48 hours early and just feel like they're in part of this special club. That is something that we've seen work in terms of, building, retention in your customer base, having people feel like, hey, this brand is really gets me. This is like one of the, brands I want to keep in my phone forever because I feel like I really have this inside track that I've kind of earned over time.
Yeah. Yeah, those are definitely some of the best ways that I've seen it work out, especially kind of like that VIP group of like, hey, you're going to get early access to certain things and stuff like that. That is where I've seen SMS do fantastically. Question for you.
Yes.
Without saying their name, because we're not going to give anyone any love on this show, what's the biggest differentiator between Attentive and some of your competitors who we will not name?
Yeah, I mean, I think like we were pioneers in SMS marketing, and so we really do truly believe that being mobile first is critical to creating these personal experiences long term. That's why we really value having the cell phone number at the center of identity. I think second, conversational. We believe that the best brand experiences don't feel like a huge email blast where everyone's getting the same thing, but feel very personalized and curated, and you can have a two-way conversation with a brand. We are AI powered. We have a massive focus right now on making sure that our marketers that we serve are able to do more with less. I know it sounds trite, but it's not just about saving time, but also creating better results by recognizing the patterns in our data, serving up better copy, serving up better imagery, serving up better segmentation. Like, we really want to make sure that we're helping marketers make the best choices they can as quickly as they can. And we've been heavily investing in AI to do that. And then the last I'd say is we're enterprise grade. We serve some of the largest retailers in the world, but we also can scale. We can scale up and down. We serve some of the most exciting entrepreneurial brands in the D2C space, all the way to the Neiman Marcus's of the world, or Crocs, or Dick's Sporting Goods. And some of these huge brands trust us on some of their most critical days, and we really pride ourselves on understanding customers of all sizes.
Beautiful. Sara, I really appreciate your time. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're slammed. I would love to give you an opportunity to let everyone know where they can find out more about you, and then obviously more about Attentive.
Sure, absolutely. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. My full name is Sara Varni Bright. I'm always happy to chat with people. You can find more about Attentive at attentive.com. We'll be in New York. We have an event called our Thread World Tour. We were named before Threads, I promise. And that's in late September. You can find out more details on our website. And otherwise, we're at a lot of the events that many of you probably will be attending in the coming year, whether that's NRF or Shop Talk. So stop by our booth and say hi. We'd love to meet you.
Perfect. I will see you there.
Great.
Sara, thank you for your time. Everyone who tuned in, of course, thank you as well. Please do the usual: rate, review, subscribe, all that fun stuff on whichever podcast platform you prefer, or head over to the ecommshow.com to check out all of our previous episodes. But as usual, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you all next time. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ecomm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The Ecomm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of The Ecomm Show.